Hey there, welcome to the PowersShift podcast. I'm Jay Powers, and along with my amazing daughter Hilary, we're here to explore what really matters. Things like spiritual growth, meaningful relationships, and living a life with purpose. We keep it real, we keep it honest, and maybe we'll even have a few laughs along the way. Whether you're here for some dad advice, fresh insights, or just to feel a part of something bigger, we're so glad you're with us. So, let's shift, let's grow, let's thrive together. This is PowersShift.
All right, here we are. Second to last episode. So that's some news. We haven't really talked about it with anybody yet, but just through conversation, we're setting up a plan for the pod. You want to talk about it? Do you want me to?
You can.
Yeah. So we have decided that we're gonna do one more episode after this, and interestingly enough, it's going to be ending on 33, which is cool.
Your numbers. Aren't those your numbers?
Well, they're not my numbers, but I feel like there's significance in them.
No, yours is
11:23.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, so just through us talking and really, I feel like trying to get to the depths of what's going on in our lives and what we're doing. We're gonna take a break after November. So we've got one more episode after this, and we're going to use the month of December to reorient and regroup and come up with a plan. So we want to take the month of December off and really just regroup and get more strategic in our planning and how we want to execute things from here on out. So I feel like PowerShift is going to look a lot different when we come back, and I'm excited about it. I feel like having the time off will give us some breathing room. So stay tuned, I'd say, for that. And something I feel like we don't do this enough is for those of you who have made it this far with us, we want your input and your feedback. And again, we have a lot of ideas of of direction of where we want to take this, but we want your ideas and thoughts and opinions on that as well. So feel free to let us know about that, ways that we can improve and grow and provide content that is, relevant and helpful. And I feel like also just like fresh and positive too. So that's new. What else, Dad? What's going on? How's your heart? How's your
No.
keel over?
Knock everything down.
It's been a big week.
Yeah,
Really big week.
SKK, my beloved other twin. Dad, your sleep rhythms are off. Yeah, no kidding. I'm waking up at 3 o'clock every morning. I'm not sure why. So I get up most times and pray and eat toast. No.
Do you put pickles on that toast? Or
Sometimes.
peanut butter?
Well, yes. No, yeah, it's been a busy week, a strange week, but a good one. Lori and I took our vows for the Order of the Mustard Seed, which is an ecumenical order within the Anglican Church. And so that was exciting. Met 20 new people that we had never talked to before. Really great. Spending 3 days with them, about 20 of us. Really good, just sweet people.
You feel like you're still processing that?
Yeah, it's. I was thinking about that, and taking vows kind of freaks people out. But it was really sacred, and in fact, I would put it up there. I think I would put it up there under my wedding vows.
That's big
Which
deal.
the vows of the Order of the Mustard Seed are: be true to Christ, be kind to everyone you meet, and take the gospel or the good news to the world, which I added to that as I go. So yes, you can be on mission, getting in the weeds, but we took those vows, and it was in a real beautiful place outside of Savannah on
Mhm.
this lake and on the Savannah River. Beautiful, kind of rustic.
Mhm.
Um,
So what now? I mean, we've talked about this this journey. You've been on it for a while. I'm beginning my season of exploration, so that's going to be 9 months of being with a cohort of people while we explore the different,
whether you not want to do it or not.
yeah, whether we want to do it, and then just what the fundamentals are of the order of the mustard seed. So for y'all, you've made it this far to take these vows, which is a big deal. It's a commitment, which,
Hmm.
yeah, our society is definitely weird with commitments. But so what does that mean for you now specifically? Not like the from the order's perspective, but you as a human being. Now what?
I think the biggest thing I've been thinking about it, but immersing yourself in this world, the biggest thing I'm seeing is it brings about an awareness that I didn't have before. I took a vow to be kind to everybody I meet. That's easy to say.
Yeah.
Look at this election.
Yeah.
And we've been very careful to, I think Tyler Staton said it very, very well. For us as followers of the way of Jesus and his teachings, we are we are aliens and nomads in this world, and our citizenship is in the kingdom of God. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean we're not contributors and participants in the culture and society in which we live,
Right.
but we don't get polarized on making a point all the time. How do we be kind to everyone we meet,
Yeah.
not just people that think like us?
Would you say that's the hardest vow for you?
No, all of them are serious. I mean, I promised to honor your mother for as long as we lived, and um, to protect her in some ways,
Well,
and to
let's
honor her
you're
and
talking
all
about your
that.
marriage vows,
Right.
right?
So those are important. These are like that. Is when you take a vow, it's not something you do lightly.
Right.
And so, being true to Christ, what does that even mean?
Mhm.
I spent 9 months talking about it, thinking about it. But what does it look like
Mhm.
in 2025 as a white man
Mhm.
who's in his 60s? What does that look like?
What does it look like?
I don't know. And can I be okay with not knowing everything that entails? What I am knowing is if you're true to Christ, not as an idea or as a religion, but in relationship with Him,
Mhm.
then this is controversial. It basically comes down to humility and honor and obedience, which are all kind of swear words sometimes in our culture. But it's like, how do I be true to Christ? What does that look like?
Mhm.
And basically, Jesus said as he was leaving, or going to his rightful place, was love me, love God, love the Trinity, love your neighbor like you love yourself. Quotes, love yourself,
Mhm.
um, and go and make disciples of all the nations.
Right. And that I think that whole concept of neighbor, um, is a big one. I was reading in, um, Dallas Willard's book, Divine Conspiracy, and he's talking about what does it mean to be a neighbor. So, he's quoting scripture and how I don't know if it was some Pharisee, or high up
Is
person
it
was.
Nicodemus?
Well, they were no, they were just trying to stump him. They were
Oh
trying to
yeah,
stump
yeah, yeah.
Jesus and like, well, who's your neighbor then? And anyways, he gets into, you know, this whole concept of neighbor isn't like, oh, the neighbor that you think is worthy, or I'm not just saying your physical neighbor next door. Like, your neighbor is anybody that you come in contact with, and it's
Mhm.
not, it's not through the lens of that you think they're worthy enough to be good to or kind to or whatever, and that's so hard because we're seeing this too. I saw a lot of that this week with the election. Is w- it's this like self righteous thing about humanity where it's like, well, I know who's worthy enough to love and who's not, and Jesus like ripped all that to shreds. And that's the thing too is none of everything that's going on right now is not new. This is, you know,
Right.
the more that I study scripture and the more that I really dig deep into that, I'm seeing that everything that was happening then, like,
It's very human.
yeah, it's just it's just humanity, and there's no like whether you're in biblical era, no matter where in the world you're at, like time frame, whatever, like it's there's so many similar fundamentals, and we want to be the ones that say, well, this is who I can love this person, but I'm not going to love this. I'm going to choose. You voted this way, so therefore, you're voted against me. So
Yeah.
therefore, I have an excuse not to hate you and to write you off. And it's like, man, and it's all that's the thing too is it's all you know where everybody I've seen so much demonization on every no matter where people stand on it, and
Even
it's
Dallas Willard, who was really practiced what he preached, he said in his, I think it's in the Divine Conspiracy, he says, "I secretly wished my neighbors would die," and he was going, and yet God is calling us to spontaneously love our enemies.
Mhm,
And that made me, I've been thinking about this for some weeks now, that in the 23rd Psalm, well, let me back up. At the retreat that we were at when we took our vows, the whole theme of the weekend was hospitality.
mm,
And we think of that as having somebody over your house, making them a meal, and them going away happy,
mhm,
to have been at your house and they got something out of it.
mhm, and it's typically people that you actually enjoy and
Right.
like that whether it's family or friends or people who will do the same for you.
Reciprocate. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And what I was reading in the 23rd Psalm, and in the 23rd Psalm, it says, "You prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows."
Mhm,
To me, that implies hospitality, like you're actually sitting down at a table with your enemies.
mhm,
And I was telling a friend of mine that, he's going, "Man, I've never really thought about that." And I brought
yeah,
it up at this retreat, and they went, "Yeah, that's a form of hospitality." And so what is So being true to Christ is being somebody that's hospitable, somebody that is wants to learn, somebody that wants justice. I mean, evangelicals tend to look at people who want justice as the flaming liberals on the left,
mhm,
when Jesus himself actually was a justice seeker.
mhm,
It's creativity and learning, and a lot of different elements of being true to Christ. A friend of mine, Mark Jordan, says, he talks about the relationship with God is multifaceted. There's a lot going on in that. So,
yeah. So how do you feel like you want? What's your hope these next coming months and as we go into the new year, like what do you hope for in terms of how you want to apply those principles of the order and how you want to carry that with you in the day to day?
well, your mom and I, we feel like part of doing this was creating a rule of life,
Mhm.
which is ancient. We think we just invented it. It's old.
Right.
And
Which we've talked about before on a couple
right.
of our
Yeah.
podcasts.
And so for us, part of our rule of life, moms, is slightly different, but they're the same in that we want to affirm, validate, encourage, challenge, and support whoever comes across our path. So going forward into this next year so how can we invest? And that is by being present, by being available, by being hospitable. Being Hospitality is expensive.
Mhm.
You have to give. It's not just making a meal; it's giving your time, giving your energy, maybe giving your money. So, okay, so what does that look like? People are tired of other people talking about Jesus and it not actually showing up in their lives. Stuff that took me 10 years to do spiritually and formationally in my life. I'm watching you youngers, as I call you. It's happening in a year. It's not taking as long, and it feels amped up, like there's more energy and more power in it in a shorter length of time.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's my imagination or what, but okay, then, so in 2025, how do I do that better? How do I become more uh, present and more intentional in being true to Christ?
Right. And from a place
Is that an answer?
yeah. Yeah. I think too it's a call to continue to come back as this being like our hearts, like a heart posture, not another thing to do, not
Right.
another new legalism, not another, like a guilt trip to be like you have to do these things, but it's like again the very deep internal workings of you and your co-partnering with God to where you naturally come from a place where you're overflowing with this love, with this hospitality, with
Well, that's the result, right?
yeah,
If you're intimate with the creator of the universe,
truly,
which people have to get their head around that because,
it doesn't make sense.
yeah, it doesn't make any sense if we're honest.
Yeah,
You cannot logic it out. And
right.
I think that's where we get stuck is people go, this doesn't make any sense. It must not be true. And we make this conclusion, oh, well, there can't be a God. It doesn't make any sense. Well, that's pretty stupid.
Yeah. Well, it's like
On my
it's
part.
like a postmodern thought, I feel like, where, it's all about having empirical data. It's all about,
Science.
what you can see and
Which we love, by the way.
yeah, but yeah, exactly. But I think that's what's interesting too is the more I study, ancient Middle Eastern world and just, the Egyptians, the Assyrians, the Babylonians, like in that world and in so much more of our world than this little snippet of what we call future and what we call like we're so enlightened and we're so ahead
Yeah.
and above everybody. Most of those people like the spiritual and like the secular were one. Like
Apocalypto we just watched.
yeah, Mel Gibson. Yeah.
Yeah, I
so
mean,
good.
whatever you think about that, I think he did a lot of research on it. Those people were not stupid.
Yeah. And
They were
most ancient cultures and tribes, like again the spiritual realm was just as much of a reality as this physical realm.
Yeah, it was enmeshed, if that's I don't know if that's the right word, but it was all together.
And now it's not. I mean, we say that it's not. It still is.
If I focus on being present on all levels, so my relationship with God, my relationship with family, that social area, and then relationship with myself physically. If I am present in those and I'm striving to just be, then the outcome of that or the result of that is doing. If I believe it, and I'm, like with my relationship with God, it should show up in my life. My worldview, how I live, how I treat other people, how I love other people, like Jesus said. If I shouldn't worry about the doing. It will come out of intimacy with the Creator. That's it. Our rule of life is this year is in 2025 will be okay. I took these vows. So what now is a good way to say it, and I think my goal is to practice presence, practice loving my neighbors as I love myself, practicing hospitality. Like right now, we've got Kirsten and Matt living here. Kirsten's getting ready to have a baby. You're here. Mom and I are in this house. It's not a little house. I mean, 2,600 square feet, but when you got lots of,
5
of
adults
people
and
in
a
there.
soon to be baby.
Yeah, for me, it's
It's a lot.
practicing. I know sometimes you guys don't think so, but I'm really glad you're here. I love,
What?
I love the idea of us being together. It's been a year of growth.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think, I talk to people, my friends, KK talks to hers, you probably with your friends. A lot of people are like, dang, that's crazy. How are y'all doing? Like, are you okay?
Pretty
When
much
when
we
you
are.
explain no, I'm just saying, like, when you
Oh yeah,
explain the living situation.
right.
But that's the thing. You and I, we talk so much about the intergenerational connections and you know, how do we actually live what we believe, and that's going to come out full force when you're in a small
It's actually
space.
harder because you put a facade on when you're talking to your neighbors. A lot of times, if we're honest, we put our best foot forward. When you're in a family and you're living in close proximity, like this morning, we got into a discussion and an argument about toilet
A
cleaner.
blowout, actually.
About toilet cleaner.
Which is funny, blowout.
Yeah,
Toilet.
no pun intended. And we're going, when I'm thinking about it right now, it's like, what? Why did we, Kirsten and I is your sister and twin sister. She and I I used to think you and I were alike, but not really.
Yeah.
Kirsten and I are so much alike, very opinionated.
And y'all don't stop.
Right.
When y'all get
Yes.
when an idea or a feeling of something gets in you, it
so true.
does not stop.
And everybody bails out. Mom runs for cover.
Mom and I are like, dude, we're over it. Let's bounce. Let's go.
Nope. Let's talk about it and talk about it to death. In fact, let's get out in the front yard and have a fist fight. Not really, but KK's, and I love that about you guys. It's like I was telling her, I don't want you to not have your strong opinions. All my kids have strong opinions. I love that. I don't want. I do.
You really love it?
I still think I'm right. I am right.
That's the thing.
And that's what God is dealing with me. As here's the truth. Not only am I not right, I'm actually wrong, and I'm probably wrong more than I think I am. So having awareness about that, and we were talking about crucial conversations, and how you keep that pool of knowledge open and flowing.
Mm-hmm.
So true hospitality would be, part of that would be, how do I keep conversation and dialogue open and safe for people to where they can tell me really what they feel and think and not be afraid that I'm going to explode on them or cram my opinion down their throat. I mean, as followers of Jesus, we've done that a lot, is we just treat people like they're idiots and like they don't think. And and the other people who we treat like idiots think the same thing about us sometimes. How do we show respect? What are, well, the basic answer is by showing respect.
Mm-hmm.
It's being humble, listening to understand, asking questions, being curious, and not having to be right. I was thinking about that after this thing about the toilet cleaner.
Well, yeah, so because I was kind of I started in on that, and then I was doing my own thing, cleaning my own room or something. But yeah, what was the outcome of that? What'd y'all?
Well, the outcome is Kirsten's not wrong.
Yeah.
About chemicals in it. I'm doing the boomer thing. We've been having these chemicals since the 40s.
Yeah.
Look at me, I'm still here. Even though I have an arm growing out of the middle of my back, I'm still here.
Right.
And she's going, Dad, she's opening windows and, and talking about dangers of it and all that. And I'm going, one time isn't going to hurt you. And then she's going, yeah, but it's not one time. So, you just get into this whole back and forth thing.
Well, that's like the dynamics of not just personality or generational things, but it's like I think that's what I don't know, that's maybe a whole other
Well,
tunnel to go down, but just there our generation, I think with millennials, it has been like information overload, which is great because we're starting to see a lot of truth and things that it's like
yeah.
that over time, whether it's we're talking about freaking toilet bowl cleaners or our food industry, like the way that our society has been operating is killing people,
Right.
literally like poisoning people. And
And
then you're called it by your like boomers are like, you conspiracy theorist, like but
yeah.
like where's the balance? Because I can't afford, it's like I can't spend thousands of dollars a month to get filters on everywhere I go and have like get clean water everywhere, all that stuff, like ionized,
Well, it's balance,
alkaline
right?
water and
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, where do you draw the line, I guess?
Well, and yeah, balance is a good word you used. Like
But
with
why do you think like why does that resistance come from you?
when
Like when
I wanted to have Kirsten and Mom on here with us just to talk about how we came to a resolution on that. Part of that is KK thinks that because of just family history and stuff, she thinks that I don't like her or I'm always mad at her. I'm really not, but it's like talking to myself.
so
And
there's like even more like less of a filter than you have with me
yeah,
almost
probably.
because it's like
Yeah,
it's like
because
subconsciously like the flow of how you would talk to yourself is
well,
how
when
you
I
talk to
look at her, I
KK.
see me,
Yeah.
and it's not her that I'm irritated at. It's like, you're being a bonehead. Well, yeah, that's because you're a bonehead, and then you're seeing that in yourself. And
Mhm.
why do I have to be right? And why do I have to be right with Kirsten?
Mhm.
But I feel like we also, as we are doing this live and in color, we are having to face those things.
Yeah.
I do not have to be right.
Mhm.
One time, Dallas Willard, he was a dean of philosophy, I think, at University of Southern California, and there was a story about him. He was in a class setting, and some young guy in his 20s was in there just ripping him up one side and down the other. And one of Dallas's friends was in the room watching it. And this guy was young and ignorant, happened to be. And this guy, his friend Dud said, Dallas, why didn't you just nail that dude to the wall? I mean, he didn't know what he was talking about. You could have destroyed him. And Dallas, calmly as Dallas could do, he said, I'm practicing not making a point. I'm going, I would have gone after this guy with a bazooka, you
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
And so part of hearing Dallas talk about that, but part of these vows is I don't have to make a point.
Mhm.
I don't have to be right, even if
Yeah.
I'm right. It's that whole thing of what's, the difference between being right and being righteous, or being right and doing the right thing. You know, throwing KK under the bus because she thinks we're using chemicals is not a place I want to go, because ultimately it doesn't matter, and ultimately she is right and I'm wrong about that. What are you finding that?
Nothing. I'm just listening.
So it's like humility.
Yeah. I think it was making me think of like with just the all the rhetoric going on right now,
Oh yeah.
everyone just needing the last word and
Yeah.
I get that too. Like it's like when I'm in a situation where I know I'm right about something or I know the truth about something, every part of me wants to like spill that
Yeah.
and dump that on everybody. For what? To be on my high horse or to be like, "Yeah, good job, Hillary, you did good on that one." Like, I don't
Swagger.
whatever that is, yeah, and so having to, you know, hold your tongue in those instances, like, Darby is a good teacher for me in that, and her and I read, is it Don Lewis Miguel, maybe? Like, the four. It's like the four
Oh, yeah.
truths. Like it, and one of those is be impeccable with your word.
Mhm.
And the three questions you ask yourself is it kind? Is it necessary? And does it improve upon the silence? I had to practice that a lot with just this last week and of
In what way?
well, with this just
Oh, the
social media
election, yeah.
rants, and I think that's what's interesting. I think what I've I've known this and felt this before, but I think I'm really seeing how much not only is it like detrimental to our society, but like just on an individual level, what it does to us and does what it does to me is this whole virtual world that we have created that isn't even real.
Mm.
It's a fake public world that we have on this,
Mhm.
and it has caused so much mass hysteria and chaos and confusion that I'm just like,
Fear.
yeah, the fear is like intense, and so for me having to find my like my place and my role and all that, and a lot of it's lately is just like just turn it off. Like I don't again like I could go into that and what when do you like speak up and when do you just remain quiet?
Well, how
And
what this week, so how have you done that?
I think I think I was doing what I can to remain neutral, to give people space, whether I agreed with what they were ranting on about or not, to just have that rant. I didn't have to respond. Um and yeah, just seeing where it's like w- yeah, where is like where's my I guess what's the point of getting in sucked into all of that? And okay, so we have that world going on. And it's also like I'm not saying it's a fake world because it's all really what's happening right now as well, but the majority of people I'm friends with on my Instagram and on my Facebook, I don't see day to day. That's what I'm saying is the difference is that's one reality, that virtual world of people who I've known in all different stages of my life, who
Or
knew
never even met?
yeah, or knew me in places where, I'm no longer that person and we're still just like looking at each other's stuff and sharing information, whatever. There's that world, and then there's this world where I'm on, a cul-de-sac living at my parents' house in Jackson, Mississippi, and what was it Thursday? We just had we had a little block party,
Awesome.
like
You did that, that was really excellent.
like well, it wasn't just me, but everyone kind of came together in
I
that,
mean,
and
you thought of it, right? Was that your
I don't
idea?
know. I can't remember. I think one of the neighbors was just saying how they used to do that more, and a
Mm.
few of us were like, "We should do something." And that's like, when I think of like my day to day life, like that's way beyond who I'm interacting with on this little box. Like, and how do I invest in that, and how do I um, bring my authentic self to that reality and make positive change.
It's a
And
good word.
and
Yeah.
I don't think it's also about having this, they talk about like toxic positivity because I know I can be a very positive person, and it's not there's a difference, I think. Like I understand that like for some people this week their world is falling apart,
Mhm.
and I have the privilege to recognize that, like being, white, being in the middle class, like I know I understand that I have privilege, and so for some people with this election, it there is serious repercussions for them in terms of their day to day like living, where
Mhm.
n- there's more heightened boldness in racism. There's more, just the hatred. It's like it spills off of the keyboards and off of the phones, and it comes out in day to day. Just, I mean, KK and I were at the TJ Maxx this week, and we heard two women screaming at each other, and it was an old woman and a young woman, and they were both. I mean, the young girl was ripping the old one and being like so disrespectful because I think the old lady had her dog in there. What it was just stupid stuff, but again, people are, like, just going off for no reason. Everyone's just stopping and, like, staring. I was like, "What's going on?" Like, it's a reflection of where people are in their current states, and again, so how do I take ownership of where I'm at? Like, I'm the only one who's responsible for myself and my actions and what I do and what I say and how I be in the world.
So how do you think that self responsibility plays into how we interact with others? Like in what do you think your responsibility would be or should be when you're at TJ Maxx and two people are fighting like that? Because most of us go, I don't want to get involved in that.
Right. Right.
And maybe that's one solution. Don't get involved.
Right.
But what are some other things that could happen? Because what's triggering the emotional responses
Mm.
in everybody on both politically? That's another place I'm going is I don't want to be polarized politically. So I
Mhm.
don't, I will talk about politics if somebody asks me specifically, but otherwise, I don't really care how you voted.
Mhm.
I don't care.
Yeah.
You vote how you feel like you're supposed to vote. And then I have to this is me, I have to be okay with that.
Mhm.
Um, and in the past, I haven't been okay with it.
Right.
Um, and so people are scared.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a bigger one, an underlying one, is people feel hopeless.
Mhm. The world would say often that the way that you respond, especially in terms of from a place of being Christ-centered, they would see that as a weakness
Right.
or is that you're letting people run all over you. And I think what Tyler and what we're saying is like there's something that happens when I'm mean to somebody. It's not just like that hurts the other person, but it does something to me in my heart, and when we, you know, another response, like let's say with just that TJ Maxx incident would be, you know, you you respond in a way that's different than what you're used to, and people like they can't believe it, and it does something to them when
Yeah.
instead of firing back at somebody when they are a
Being
doucher
kind.
or when they're being a doucher, instead of firing back to be like, "Hey, like that's something I've adopted just when I go into the schools, like, "Hey, what's wrong? Are you okay? Like, what's going on?" Or just, when sometimes I've done this out in public when someone's being rude or just condescending, it's like, "What what's wrong? Like, what happened today? Like, are you like what do
Yeah.
you need?" And that's just again, it does something to the other person when they, they're met with kindness in a way that's not deserved.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
when it's not a deserved, oh, like, I'm being kind because you're a kind person. It's like I'm being kind even in the midst of this. Like I've seen that people's faces change by
Right.
asking or responding in a way that's unlike anything that they're used to.
Well, and not that's what Jesus said.
Right.
Jesus was a badass.
Right.
He didn't put up I mean, he was not afraid to confront people and society and crowds and all that. He did it,
Right.
but he did it with intentionality.
Mhm.
The people that he was frustrated the most with in his context were not the Romans.
Mhm. The
It wasn't
oppressor who were the
yeah.
oppressors of that time.
They were in an occupied country. It wasn't men or women in particular. He was frustrated with religious people who burdened the masses, the majority of people, with all these rules and regulations that there was no way they could live up to.
Mhm.
And he was emotionally mature. He got angry. He had compassion. He had kindness. And he had all those things, and he was mature in that. And that's all he's saying is just do what I ask you to do. Love your neighbor as yourself. Hey, God, hey, Jesus, how many times should we forgive people? 7 times? Because that was the law. You have to forgive people 7 times. No, he said, I'm telling you, do it 70 times 7.
Mhm.
which implies always be forgiving.
Mhm.
Well, we want, instead of forgiveness, we want revenge. Look at the movies we watch,
Yeah.
but they're revenge, and they don't bring kindness, and they don't bring resolve. You feel good for a second that you got your, comeuppance or whatever, but at the end of the day, you don't feel better.
Mhm.
You feel worse, really.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and then there's the whole justice thing. Jesus was a justice seeker.
Mhm.
Part of why he came.
Yeah.
He said, "The poor will always be with you. Take care of them." So,
So you're doing good.
yeah, I mean, when you have to look at yourself with an honest appraisal, sometimes you don't like I don't like what I see.
Mhm.
And that's part of the opportunity for growth and transformation. Nobody will make you grow.
Mhm.
You don't have to.
Yeah, and I think it's important to, I think we do a good job of this, like, in just in our family, is, and I've seen it with you, is recognizing that we still have a long way to go. I think there's also, we don't do enough of this. I don't do enough of this. Is also celebrating where I am at and how far we have come. Like, yes, I have a long way to go. No, I don't know everything, but to for this present Hillary to look back on past Hillary from a year ago, from 10 years ago, 5 years ago, like, I have grown a lot. And that is,
Yeah, you have.
that's worthy of celebrating and being proud of yourself for that. And we live in this world where it's not okay to do that either, because then you're cocky. And I just think it's important for people to recognize not only where you're at, but the people who are still in your life. Like, that's, I think, the other, when I think of the virtual world that I live in, let's just say my virtual world, I mean, again, 90% of those people I interact with or see their stories or whatever aren't in my everyday life. And they know me in a period of time.
Flash on a page.
Yeah, where I'm not that person anymore. And same with me. I see friends, like Facebook friends or Instagram friends, who I knew them in a very different place. And so I can be surprised at what they're saying now or what they're doing now, but it's like, dude, 10 years have passed, Hillary. Like, I have no idea where they're actually at.
Yeah.
I have no idea, you know, what I what 10 stories I post on a daily basis doesn't give you a lot of insight into who I am as a human. But we've created this standard of, oh, you know, this person believes this, they stand for this because of this meme and because of that person they
Mhm.
follow. And again, that can give you insight into a person's reality. But until we sit down face to face with each other and truly, like, get to know one another, like, I yeah, I feel like it's we have to give each other room to change our minds and to let each other fall and let each other grow, and not be
Yeah.
not be pissed off when you see someone who's growing more than you. Or
Not just celebrating growth, but celebrating the process of growing.
yeah, I mean, look at our family. The last election, or last 8 years ago, that last election almost destroyed us. I mean, few of
Yeah.
us weren't talking to each other at that point.
Right.
And
Very
look at
polarized.
that to how it's been now. All of us have grown in significant ways, and I'm proud of us. I'm proud of us to be
Yeah.
able to get to a place where, I think it's been hard for me because, I see a lot of the narrative is like, well, it's not just like agreeing to disagree, because you're where we part ways is like, we're talking, morality, and your moral compass is completely opposite of mine, so therefore we can't be friends, or we can't be in each other's lives. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't think that everybody who voted one way or the other are all complete idiots, all complete racists, bigots.
Basic
Um,
respect for each
and
other.
I'm saying that on every side. Like, I just have seen so much of that, and it's like, man, like, And so what are we gonna do? How do we then individually take up our own cross,
Well, it's
so to speak, and
yeah.
and and see the areas where, like, yeah, we
In essentials, unity.
yeah.
In non-essentials, liberty. In all things, charity. Like, we're sitting over there at the cul-de-sac party. Was that the night before last?
It's Thursday.
The youngest one was 20.
Was 3 actually, 3 years
Oh,
old.
yeah, 3. So 3, 10, and then I think
20s,
25. Yeah, 20 to 26, 28, 30, 37.
45-ish,
Yeah,
60s,
60.
and then
Yeah,
Peggy, and then the other
and
one's 80,
yeah,
right?
right. So,
3
and
different
we're
classes.
talking about a lot of different things. But at the end of the night, I think I'm right on this. If politics mattered, it never even came up
Mhm,
because we're going, you know what? We just had an influx of 2 new couples in our cul-de-sac that completely changed the dynamic of the cul-de-sac. And it was good.
mhm,
And we
yeah,
talked about a lot of things. The scripture says, when possible, live at peace with all people.
mhm, mhm.
So
Well, that quote that you said, who do we know who said that?
it
The
wasn't Zinzendorf, but it was somebody
Yeah,
from his
yeah.
era. I looked it up once. I
Do
can't
you
remember who said it.
in that word charity, the roots of charity is, Latin. In Latin, it's caritas,
Mm,
which essentially means love.
mm,
There's that one of my favorite
yeah.
prayers is that Latin prayer, and it's from, like, the late 700s. Ubi caritas est vera, Deus ibi est. Wherever love is true, God is there.
Mm. That's good.
I
I mean, we
love
could end on that. That's I mean,
and love beyond logic, love beyond worldly standards, love beyond what we think
the
love
physical
is.
aspects of
Like,
love. Yeah.
yeah, I think as a human, whether you're existed thousands of years ago or now, like, how do we set down our own humanness, not abandon it, but set it down and embrace the infinite love of God
Yeah.
that doesn't even come close to human love and what we think it all should mean or does mean. And that's a surrendering that I think we all will be on forever if you want to and if you choose it, right? Like,
Yeah. When you came out to us in the 90s.
I came out to y'all my sophomore year of college. So I was 20. That was, yeah,
Yes.
I was like much
So
younger.
from then to now, God has done a lot in me,
Hmm.
in terms of what my role is in your life, which is to love you.
Yeah.
That's my job. It's not to agree with you, to condemn you, to argue with you about it, anything. And I just bring that up because that's been a big one for me with your mom. It was with her cardiac arrest and where she came back as a different person.
Hmm.
And I wanted to leave because I just couldn't deal with the difference and how God has changed my heart around that. But I could have dug in and done what I wanted to
Hmm.
and run off and had a whole nother life. But to what end? Just just getting what I wanted,
Hmm.
making a point,
Well, that's what we say, I think, nowadays is, like, that's true freedom. We live in America, so that means we get to do
whatever we
we get
want.
whatever yeah, we do what we want, we get what we want, and that's freedom, and that's we've talked about that before.
Yeah,
That's
and
we know that that's not
real freedom is being able to say no to yourself, which is part of formation.
right.
It's being able to live a life of discipline in the positive sense.
Well, I think that's what the disciplines do, whether it's fasting, meditation, prayer, solitude,
Yeah,
all of that.
being in nature, all of it.
Yeah, I think what that has done for me over the years is it's literally changed the way that I experience time, the presence.
Mhm.
It slows it down in a way that I feel like is actually sustainable, and gives me opportunity to acknowledge, to rest, to breathe, and see where again where my own limitations are.
Hmm.
And I think that's again, it's a forever journey.
And where others see, I mean, sometimes in my relationship with God and with all the stuff that's been going on this year is I feel like I see myself at a certain standard. I look at myself and go, I'm here. I'm at point A. And I feel like in my relationship with God, as I think and pray and listen, probably listen more, He's going, that's where you see you, but I see you up here at your full potential.
Mhm.
And as I designed you and created you to be in this world, you have to
You're
die.
Yeah,
That's the
exactly.
scary part.
Right.
And we think, well, if I die, then I'm going to give up my personality and I'll be some robot and I'll be some Jesus freak,
Right.
and nobody will like me. And God's going, that's not it at all. I'm
Yeah.
going to call you to your full self, and I want you to be who I have designed you to be.
And I mean, you and I have had to have some with this podcast, with, day to day living, we've had to have some tough conversations. Hey, if this is an area where I need to grow in, like, please tell me or show me.
Well,
And
I saw you do that this last couple of weeks in a couple of situations
mhm,
where you had to tell somebody no,
mhm,
not your nature. You're a yes person.
yeah,
And so having to say this in a more public forum was that hard? It had to be hard.
yeah, definitely, and also empowering. I think again,
You can do it.
our yeah, and I think so many people I know don't feel heard or validated, and you know,
Boy, that's true.
our voices do matter. Like
Yeah.
what we say, like what we have to say or what we see does matter. And so how do we create an environment where we are like you said in the beginning with the whole crucial conversations, or what we've talked about
Yeah.
this whole week, is like how do we create spaces where how do I as an individual walk into a place wherever I'm at and create a space where people feel safe enough to say what's actually
Mm.
on their hearts and their minds. And
You remember that saying when you were a kid? Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
yeah,
That's one of the biggest lies ever.
I know.
Words have power. Words do hurt people. I mean, look at social media. We spew hate. And
Hmm.
God, I feel like God is going, if you're going to spew something, put love out there, put kindness,
Hmm.
it doesn't mean we agree. We're never going to agree on everything, but our words matter. Bo talks about that a lot. Our
Right.
words really matter.
Right.
So, so be wise with our words
Our words have weight too. Like they literally have a physiological, energetic weight to them.
because they're a radio signal or whatever it is.
There's just it's sound. It's
Sound, yeah,
there's vibration and there's um,
yeah.
electromagnetic waves that
It's
go
weird. It's
out
so
and
crazy. So we're growing, we're learning, and dot dot dot. I
mhm.
don't know. It's like
We have to get a bunch of new cleaning products in the
right.
house.
We're building this plane while we're flying it, and we would grow, and we die, and we're evolving, and we're transforming, and it just takes time and being comfortable in the process.
When you said all that, it reminded me of another quote. We should write all the quotes that we don't know because we always have quotes, but we don't know who said them.
Yeah.
It's if you die before you die, you won't die when you die.
But what are your takeaways?
Let's see. My takeaways are no, I think just the importance of really like the importance of dialogue. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, having people who you can say it all to, and I know for some people that
Mm.
the reality is that they don't have that.
I just thought of when you said that. I know it's your takeaways, but it's like sometimes what you say is you say a lot by not saying it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just keeping your mouth shut and letting somebody else talk and make their point
Mhm.
and be heard.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, not having to prove anything.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think we come back to this a lot, is just gratitude. Like I'm very grateful for this life and
Mm-hmm.
for you and mom and KK and just my life right now. And I look at it and, you know, all the things that I could change if I wanted to, but I don't. Like I'm very, very content right now. And I thank God for that. And I think that's where the beauty is for me, is like seeing what it's like and experiencing what it's like to be on the way, to
Mm-hmm.
to walk. Halak halakha is what is Hebrew for to walk the way.
Mm.
Halak halakha.
Mm.
And what that feels like just right now in the present moment, like there's a joy about it, like despite all of the chaos and the things that are going on and have gone on this week, including daylight savings time, which is annoying as heck.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just feeling gratitude and feeling excited for what's ahead. I feel like again, we're in this big shift,
Yeah, I
this
agree.
power shift.
Shift happens.
Right. Yeah. And so that, again, just to kind of reiterate from what I was talking about earlier in the podcast, is things are changing here. Things are going to look different, sound
Mm-hmm.
different.
And maybe what we can do is on our last podcast, just talk about that.
Yeah.
And our last conversation be about some of the ideas we've got. Anyway,
Yeah.
good.
Here's to being in the present moment and to finding joy in the little things, and also giving space to feel whatever we feel when we feel it.